Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here, and welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today we are doing the community reaction to the end of service notice. Of course, I'm going to be going through my comment section for my video, of course, where I did cover the fact that, DANMEMO'S international version was ending its service in February. Of course, if you haven't checked out that video, the link will be in the description below, as well as at the end of this video, you can access the playlist where, well, all of my DANMEMO videos are there, including that specific video as well. And also, along with checking out my comment section as well, we are going to be going over to the Gacha Gaming subreddit as well to see what the general Gacha Gaming community has to say about DANMEMO'S end of service notice. So of course, if you guys going to enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more content, and let me know in the comment section down below, couple of days on, what are your thoughts? Are you guys still going to be playing the game, or are you just going to abandon the game here on out? Let me know in the comment section. I'm quite curious to see what you guys have to say down below, because I know a lot of people are going to be pretty much in both sections, effectively, either or section, I should say, right? Some people will immediately just drop the game knowing that, well, 2 months to go, there's no point in it really. Maybe they might come out for the final day itself, right? But beyond that, maybe they, most people will just stop playing the game entirely. And on the other hand, there will be people still playing the game day in, day out, enjoying the final 2 months of the game being live, and then, say farewell to the game whenever the time comes. And of course, there might be some people who might jump over to the JP version for what I assume is only going to be a couple of additional months, and we might talk about that later on in this video as well, because I'm pretty sure we'll get some comment regarding that, of course, right? But yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down below and what your plans are for DANMEMO in the near future. Alright, let's take a look at our comment section. First and foremost, we have at Demio, the Sauce Monarch 8652. These are my top comments, by the way. We're going from top to bottom, basically. I'm gonna miss this game, not gonna lie. The collaborations, the units with different types of outfits and everything was so amazing. Yeah, if you take a look at the collaborations that this game had, right, admittingly, it definitely preferred one collaboration more than anything else, Data Life being that collaboration. But honestly, we had Kino's Journey, which, by the way, I really liked as a collaboration because it took an unknown light novel for me personally, and I know at the time nobody knew what Kino's Journey was, and brought it to the forefront, which I really, really appreciated. We had a random ass collaboration with AOT, and as bad as the story was, it was absolutely fantastic. Our first ever familiar raid was there. Obviously, the fact that it was AOT, and at the time it was at the peak of AOT's popularity, in my personal opinion, of course, right? And then obviously you had Data Life, Goblin Slayer as well. And admittingly, we'd missed out on some iconic collaborations as well. Potentially getting Konosuba in, potentially getting SAO in, potentially getting ReZero in. Those collaborations never happened, but still, it was super iconic, some of the collaborations, and they brought about it some of the best stories as well, in my personal opinion. And then of course, he goes on to talk about all the different outfits and everything. And yeah, I mean, you have to remember, they've been releasing basically 6, 8, 12 units even per event, basically. Sometimes, 12 units when it's a double potter, right? For example, Winter's Reverie was like a 12 unit celebration, basically, right? Every single unit had a different outfit, which was super nice. Of course, it was easier for them to implement it compared to, say, how it is for Dancrow, because Dancrow's 3D models and everything, right? But still, it doesn't change the fact that they had to do it every single month, basically. Bring out 6 new units or 4 new units, sometimes even more than that, like I said. And yeah, it was pretty darn sick. So kudos to the development team for, absolutely dedicating a lot of time and effort into, building something special with this game in terms of, the variety of units and the collaborations as well. At Juntaski goes on to say, Danmachi is my favorite anime. I can't believe it'll surpass DBZ, Macros, Gundam, and others for me. I felt Danmachi has become a daily habit for me. It's like you brush your teeth without question. I play DANMEMO or Dancrow without question because it is Danmachi. I've never ever continuously played one single game for years before, and the only game that ever came close was StarCraft. Maybe DANMEMO is like a pet I have owned for a very long time, and its short life has finally come to an end. It's like a part of me died. It's sad, but it is part of life where change is continuous and nothing lasts forever. Well said, in my opinion. Absolutely fair to say stuff like this, in all honesty, because you have to remember, for a lot of people, these games are a part of their lives. You know, you do your dailies, you do your logins. It becomes a habit, like he says, right? He goes on to talk, he mentions it, I think, as well, a daily habit, right? It's something you do unconsciously at a point, right? It's what I do with games like Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and various other gacha games that I played for a, you know, continuous period of time, where it becomes something that you do naturally. And sometimes you have to say goodbye, you know, forcefully, but sometimes, you know, unfortunately, it comes to the point where the game just doesn't, or is incapable of surviving that long. And of course, Danmemo is one of those games. Now, still, I maintain 6 years for this game is nothing short of special, to be quite honest. You know, you have so many gacha games that are dying within a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, right? Dragalia Lost, I think, is the perfect example, where, you know, 3 years into the game's life cycle, you know, being published by Nintendo, developed by Cygames, you would think it's the recipe for success, but mistakes, just simple mistakes by both the developer and publisher. Of course, more people proportion the blame to Nintendo, but still, mistakes from both sides, the developer and publisher, led to the game just unfortunately having to shut down 3 years into its game cycle, which is surprising to me, because I generally thought that Dragalia was a game that would last longer than Danmemo, purely based on the fact that, you know, you had such backing from some big companies there, whereas Danmemo is it's using an anime IP that's super niche anyways, and then furthermore, on top of that, the gameplay loop is pretty outdated in, you know, the modern era. So I feel like it's a bit of a weird thing there, that, you know, we could see this game flourish and nourish for 6 years straight, which was very impressive. Of course, I know some people would like to say that towards the end it kind of just started faltering, but still, 6 years is nothing short of impressive, of course, right? At Lone Wolf to 20,213 says, I never spent a penny on this game, and I'm still dedicated to a lot to this game. I can't even imagine to begin to imagine what it'll be like without this game. Honestly, I think even though it might take up a lot of my space, right? You have to remember, Danmemo is a big game, right? I'm probably not gonna delete it from my phone. Unfortunately, there will be a time where it will go, because of course, transferring to a new device and everything, my phone is going to inevitably shut down on its own as well, 2 years, 3 years down the line. But I'm still gonna keep it on my phone for as long as I possibly can, just to have that reminder of what it was and what it meant to me as a content creator, as a person, as somebody who's gone through university with this game. Basically, I started university, and I'm ending university with this game coming out and, you know, closing down in that span of time. It's insane. It is genuinely insane, in all honesty. I'll say thank you to Danmemo for 6 enjoyable years. At Hazik Safari says. At J Bruise says, it was the first anime game I played, and I love this game so much. It's sad, but I will always remember it. Now, at Victor goes on to talk about something I feel that people tend to ignore in regards to Danmemo, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's sad, as this game added so much explorative and even foundation canon content to Danmachi. While fans were waiting for novel content or new anime seasons, we had Danmemo. Their development team and production team, and I say especially Fujino Omori, who poured so much of his own time overseeing or scripting and writing more original content, speaks volumes. Things always felt fresh. You could tell everybody behind it cared. The developers, production team, VAs, Fujino himself, and even collaborators who produced some of the most unique stories and events we could possibly have hoped for. With all that said, I hope there are enough diehard fans left who will upload these unique stories, character outfit stories, JPEGs, the unique character outfit and arts, putting up the soundtracks, and just everything that added to what is Danmachi. New fans are gonna miss out on this, which is otherwise sad, and if they don't openly share this to the community, then it falls on the community to preserve it. I agree with that point. So before we go on to the last part from Victor, I absolutely agree with that first paragraph. You have to remember that Danmachi Memoria Freese came out at a time where they had just dropped Sword Oratory, and it was a massive failure. Remember, you know, I've talked about it in various videos. I have a special video dedicated to why Sword Oratory failed. But it came out at a time where Sword Oratory failed. You know, we didn't get a second season until like 2019, of course, right? And the first season was in 2015, of course, right? So it was a long time since the anime released, and Danmemo was the only thing we had as a Danmachi fan outside of the light novels to, you know, carry us forward. And one good thing that it did was that it, enabled people to read Danmachi without having to even go to the light novels. Sword Oratoria's entire adaptation is currently in Danmemo, outside of course volume 13 and 14, but everything is there in Danmemo, and it's so surprising to me that a game has done that, where you can basically access light novel content that isn't even animated yet. Usually whenever it comes to these anime gacha games, they tend to avoid including anything from the manga or light novel source material. They focus entirely on what is happening in the anime or making their original content. So it was very impressive to me when they said that, we're going to be adapting and animating, or, voicing, I should say, not animating, but adapting and voicing as much of Sword Oratoria as possible, which was very impressive. And yes, I hope that, people do come out and, just start pumping out like a bunch of videos and stuff for Danmachi, in terms of like people like Gacha Ampus, maybe Mediocre can make a comeback, I don't know. But as long as these people can actually just, push out these stories and anniversary events and whatnot into the YouTube sphere, and maybe we can have like a sort of like archive built, maybe, I think it would be fantastic. I know, of course, when it comes to the JPEGs and stuff, big shout outs to Weird. He will be doing it sometime in January. I will be making a video when that does happen so that you guys can access it. I will be leaving a link to it when it does release in that future video, whenever that comes out, of course, right? But yeah, on that front, I wouldn't worry about it. It's just that we need people to be able to get around to making the stories and character outfit stories a thing on YouTube. I really hope so. At HL Undertaker says, yes, it was unexpected. Okay, wait, before I continue on, forgot to read Victor's last sentence. Again, truly sad to see it come to an end, though I see where they're coming from. They've done so much more than what we could have asked for. They have gone above and beyond to give us a very memorable 6 years. I absolutely agree with that. Undertaker says here, yes, it was unexpected, or it was expected, sorry, but I'm still emotional after hearing the news. It has been a good gacha game, outlasting so many other games that were backed by bigger IP and everything, and it is the first gacha game I actually joined a community for, and because of it, I was able to meet so many people I would have not met otherwise. I agree with that point. I think, there are so many people that I've met, and I've been given so many opportunities that I wouldn't have even imagined, so absolutely agree with that. Funny enough, it is looking like I will reach EOS with 12k free iris and 700 paid iris. Was hoping they would offer the $1 for 100 iris deal to make it 800 so I can do 2 guaranteed pulls, but it just never came. And yeah, we can't even do guaranteed pulls anymore in the game, if I'm not mistaken, because we did do the data mine for the most recent app update. There's no 4th anniversary in our files there, so there's no rerun for that. I don't know if JP will get it. We'll have to wait and see on that front. There's no 6th anniversary rerun, seems like, event wise. It's just the 5th anniversary, and that's it. That's where we're gonna be ending. And when the 5th anniversary gacha comes out, there's no paid banner for that either, part 3 banners, that is. So yeah, it's quite interesting in that regards, that JP's gotten the paid banner still, of course, because they're not stopping it just yet. But yeah, we are, unfortunately. So yeah. At AtoiTravel 2436 says, I just started last year and knowingly I knew it was ending soon. I just wish I picked this game up sooner. It was more fun than I thought. Surprisingly, seeing that the Danmachi anime has gotten more interest and a consistent anime release, same with the manga. I wonder if we could sideload the JP version of the app. Well, you can't sideload and transfer your account to the JP version. If you want to download the JP version, you have to go through other means like creating a JP Google Play or Apple Store account, or alternatively downloading it off of QO app or something like that, basically, if you're on Android, to make your lives a lot easier, or on emulator, of course, right? And you would have to basically start fresh, right? Which I don't know if people would be interested in doing that. Some might not. In terms of it being a surprise that, considering, the anime has gotten more interest and everything, well, the reason why I believe the game is shutting down is, I think, more so to make way for that new game that's going to be coming out. Because, again, like I say, you have to remember that WFS is the subsidiary studio to Gree Inc., who is the collaborator for that new gacha game. So what I think is going to happen is that they're moving a lot of the localization team and everything, and rather than investing more costs into Danmemo, shifting those costs over to developing and helping the development of that new Danmachi gacha game whenever it does release, whenever we do get any news for it. That is, I think, the reason why we're seeing a lot of transitionings happening, or transitions happening, sorry, I should say. And I think that's the reason why we're starting to get these announcements coming through. Zekrom says here, it's basically been on maintenance mode after the 6th anime end. For an anime IP-based gacha game, it was a good run. I appreciate all the anniversary stories that adds up and enriches the main series. I absolutely agree with this, no doubt about it. User says, I'm afraid of this happening to Genshin and HSR in the future. Will I lose access to everything I collected and achieved? My biggest fear. And that is a fair fear to have. I think I've, resigned myself to accepting that it is inevitable for a lot of these live service games to end after a point. However, I feel like with some games, they're too popular to close down. I feel like that's the case. I don't see Dokkan shutting down. FGO, there's always been murmurs about, what's the future of FGO? Are they going to do FGO 2 and stuff like that? No confirmation there. With Genshin and HSR, right, the perfect example that we can take is Honkai Impact 3rd, which is basically revamping its entire game and making a part 2 within the game itself, so that basically you still have all your previous content, but they're creating they're basically changing up how the game works and everything. A new engine is being used. I think they're using Unreal Engine 5 now for that game instead as well. So they're just going all in on, revamping that game. And I think that's what will happen with Genshin and HSR when we do finish the entire story of those games. Of course, when, we reach Celestia and Genshin and so on and so forth, right? Amphi says, it was expected, but logging in and seeing that black box in the news and on the home screen stung surprisingly much. I agree. It was expected. Like I said, 28th February, it was exactly around the time I expected. Like I said, it was a month or two apart, but still, it was around the time I expected. I said April-ish, give or take. Maybe March end, maybe May, I don't know. But around then, basically, end of the Japanese fiscal year. And still, but seeing it and, it actually being a thing is very shocking nonetheless. Lockhart says, I'm sad to see Danmemo ending. It was the best game. I'm gonna miss this game forever. Loki called it. A lot were saying it was gonna end close to or around summer, lol. I mean, yeah, we all said it, close to around summer, which, I mean, summer is June, July, August, which I don't know who all were saying those months, but I was saying specifically April to May-ish, which I am 2 months off, basically, kind of more so 1 month off technically, because it is the end of February, same thing as the start of March. But yeah, it is what it is. Hey, it's Brandon says, this was the only gacha game that really got me stuck up on the series, Ellen's and community. I really hope they consider putting this game on an offline mode. I absolutely agree with that. It would be amazing if we do get an offline mode, but we'll have to wait and see. Would this also happen to Danmachi Battle Chronicles at some point, or is it unlikely? I think I replied to this guy basically saying it is possible, there's no doubt about it. I think it all depends on what happens with that next gacha game, and Danmachi Battle Chronicle is making a decent fair bit of change right now, of course, right? But who knows, when that new gacha game comes, is it going to take up a majority of the market share that Battle Chronicles already has? And I feel like with a series like Danmachi, it's better to have only one gacha game. So I wouldn't be surprised that depending on what happens with that next game, if it is far superior compared to Danmachi Battle Chronicle, I wouldn't be surprised if Battle Chronicle shuts down in 2-3 years time, to be honest. I don't think it'll shut down within a year, because as long as it's making money, you may as well extract as much money as possible from a business standpoint. But I wouldn't be surprised if 2 years down the line they see the writing on the wall and just say, you know what, we had a good run, go play the better game, kind of thing, Raudakun says, man, this sucks. I really wanted to continue playing this game. Might have to create a JP version, but man, this is awful. I downloaded it when it first came out, and seeing how it performed, I feel really sad. Sad it's going, but also relieved that I can allocate my time somewhere else. Maybe more Danmachi products, fair enough. I quit after 6th anime when I heard the EOS news is happening, and now that it's happening, it's sad. Good 6 years it had. Yeah, a lot of people actually just quit right after the 6th anniversary, because we knew, they said that they weren't going to be creating any new content outside of some brand new units, and they would just keep returning all the older events and stuff, right? So a lot of people quit, but I was like, I'll still keep playing the game, and I still kept playing the game for the foreseeable future. We did upload some videos here and there, but yeah, it's it was inevitable, right? Sitting on the game on the last day as the clock strikes midnight, hoping to get sucked into the world like Ainz from Overload. No disrespect, I'll be sitting there right next to you. Absolutely, we will be there. We will be there. We will be there. We will all be there, all right? I was hoping this game would survive at least until the newest Danmachi launch, but it is what it is. I am sad. I mean, yeah, it was I wouldn't have said that it was going to, you know, end just as the new game launched. I think it would have ended a couple of months before then. I thought that, you know, once they started ramping up the marketing, this game would announce its EOS, but it seems like we're getting it a little bit earlier than that. Some Call Me Geo says, really upset this game was my escape from other gachas like Dokkan. Yeah, I think that was an escape for a lot of people. But yeah, let's continue on to the Gacha Gaming subreddit though. It seems like everybody is saying the same thing pretty much here. So we'll move on to the JP version and see what the not JP version, I mean the Gacha Gaming subreddit, and see what the Gacha gamers have to say here. So of course, you Prestigious Pin posted this on the Gacha Gaming subreddit, had a decent amount of upvotes, still is in the top Reddit posts for the most recent day for the last couple of days, which is super cool. 69 comments, nice. So let's see what everybody has to say. So Snowy Bell says, and yet King's Raid still lives on. So King's Raid is another game that is in maintenance mode for a very, very long time, and people are surprised that it still exists. So it's a lot of people are just making a joke here and stuff, right? Phoenix says the JP version will continue for some reason. I don't think it's necessarily for some reason. I think one, it's still making a decent fair bit of change, and as long as they're making money, there's no harm in it. Of course, it makes sense why the English version and all the other versions are stopping, because, you know, localization costs and everything. It would have been expected to see us go first purely because of that, and they've always preferred the JP version to a certain degree because of course it's making them more money, right? But of course I don't know if they'll be getting any brand new units. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But yeah, not only that, also, you know, the global usage of the Danmachi IP, like they say here, and like I said, they probably also know internally the end date of the JP version, so we may as well shut down the global version a little bit earlier, and then the JP version can go down a month or two later, which I think is going to be the case. By the way, I do expect the game to end in the JP side around April to May. I'll still stand by my original date, but that will be for the JP version now, of course, right? I'm surprised people are still spending on this game, money on this game, despite the announcement a few months ago. Some games don't make that much money even when they release new content. So yeah, Shareth is saying 500k this month. I mean, we can verify that right now. I don't remember if it makes exactly 1 month. You know, I don't remember if it exactly makes that much money. But like, if we take a look at this is December, of course. It has made, if I take a look at this, 47.51 million yen. 47.51 million yen to USD. Let's see, how much is that? 337,000 US dollars, which is huge, to be quite honest. It's still very, very impressive, you know. No doubt about it. It's still making a shitload of money for, of course, the franchise. And of course, to be fair, we did have the Hero Festa units, and I mean, in the past Hero Festa units, if you take a look at around you know, not even then, let's take a look at around this time, the Astrea record units, basically, when we got the Astrea record units, 115 million yen to the USD. How much is that? $800,000. The JP version is still making a huge you know, chunk of change. So I don't see there's any reason of you know, changing that, and especially if they're getting it off of releasing only like 2 units. Literally, the December was only 2 units. Literally, they released the Hero Festa units and that's it. Of course, a lot of it was also reruns as well, but they only had to work on 2 units and that's it, and they were still making that much money, which is seriously impressive, of course, right? And that's only the JP version. Of course, if you take a look at the other versions, they're not making that much money, but 50,000, 60,000 USD is what they're making, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, from my memory, which is still a solid amount considering there are gacha games out there that are making like $30,000, $20,000 and are still alive. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it makes a lot of sense on their behalf to just remove the costs and, you know, focus in on, you know, just entirely making as much profit as possible from the JP version, of course, right? But yeah, different publishers? No, same publisher. So yeah, it used to be different publishers, of course. Keep that in mind. Crunchyroll was at the start of this game. Remember, DANMEMO survived Crunchyroll, which is very impressive. Not a lot of gacha games can say that. Princess Connect couldn't say that, nor could many others like Overlord or, you know, some other games as well. So fair enough on that part, that they managed to survive Crunchyroll and come out of it stronger in a way. But yeah, it's very, very impressive. Publishers making all these end-of-year cuts, not a happy time of the year for gacha gamers. Yeah, I mean, we saw Square Enix announcing some games shutting down as well. Full Metal Alchemist, the gacha game, is shutting down as well. And yeah, this is them getting ready for that end of the fiscal year, like I said, either way, because this is like a month away from the fiscal year. 31st March is the end of the fiscal year, so makes sense as to why they're just cutting and chopping out all these gachas that aren't necessarily either profitable or are on the cusp of dying anyway. So yeah, one of those games that did justice to its anime IP. I agree. Not a lot of gacha games can say this, and especially on the Gacha Gaming subreddit, this is huge praise, considering so many people hate anime IP gacha games on the Gacha Gaming subreddit, and for fair reason, to be quite honest. They were original stories from anniversaries that the author turned into light novels. Usually it's the other way around. I started at launch and this game got me interested in the IP. I'm still following the English version light novels. This game ends for good, complete story and an amazing one for me. Goodbye, the Memoria Freeze, good memories. Doomkun goes on to talk about how how Danmemo is better than Dancro, and talks about what the issues are with Dancro, which, I mean, I agree with some of it, I disagree with some of it, of course, right? I know, like, a lot of people say, like, he goes on to say that loyal players just say skill issue and just use melee. I do say that sometimes to some players, but the thing is, right, if you are on PC, it literally is a skill issue, and just use and not only just use melee, but ranged characters like Lafia work on PC. If you're on mobile, I absolutely understand. It is so clunky. Very few Japanese-based hack and slash games are good on mobile, unfortunately. You know, even Chinese games can only do so much with certain games. Like PGR, great action-based game. Same with Honkai Impact 3rd, great action-based game, but still not extremely fun to play. I just personally believe hack and slash on mobile just doesn't work, and I think it's way better for us to have a turn-based gacha game or something simpler instead, potentially, or, you know, like a Genshin where the combat is very simple and very level grounded as well. But of course, not a lot of people like that because they want competitive features and stuff like that, and they want to, you know, show off a little bit, so it ends up becoming a problem there. But I agree with some of the points he says, you know, the lock on stuff and whatnot. It's a bit of a problem for sure. I do think that they're improving, though. Dancro is still improving. Credit where it's due, they've made massive improvements over the last few months compared to the first month of the game. But still, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Yeah, Zekrom is here as well, saying the same thing that he said here. In a market filled to the brim with the IP-based gachas that spring up and die overnight, Danmemo is notable for actually contributing a lot to the main IP. It expanded stories, added new ones, and shown a spotlight on characters that don't get much attention in the main LN series or even its spin-off. I agree. Ahmed, Naza, he talks about Ahmed here, so I mentioned her. Naza, you have the likes of, you know, Takemi Kazuchi, Mia coming in at certain occasions. You have the likes of certain, you know, side characters that would just end up being the main characters of a certain event. Demeter, for example, and stuff, right? It's very, very impressive. The signs were there when there weren't a collab with another anime this year. That is true. At the start of the year, no anime collaboration was pretty surprising, but then it kind of made more sense when they made that announcement saying that after the 6th anniversary there was going to be no new stories. But yeah, he basically goes on to talk about it's been in maintenance mode and stuff. The Strike the Blood collaboration was good. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Goodbye Danmemo, one of the best IP gacha games of our time. You will be missed. I loved all the anime stories, especially Argonauts, and loved all the characters too, and the Heroic Desire soundtrack is so good. I hope they make a new Danmachi game in the near future just like Danmemo, but don't go into the whole 3D side of gacha games unless they plan on hiring Kuro Games for combat. A game like BA would be good. I agree, the Blue Archive like Danmachi game I think would be ideal, so we'll have to wait and see. I agree, I think combat in itself is just so difficult to get right. I wouldn't trust anybody outside of like probably like a MiHoYo or a Kuro Games at this point to make a hack and slash gacha game for mobile devices or PC even, I would say. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the case. It was a very good game. Shame it had to die for the new 3D one that just looks awful from what I played at the start. I don't think it died for Dancro. I think it died for what's coming up next instead, whatever the new gacha game is, to be honest. J Cal says here, as a day one player that missed no more than a month's worth of logins throughout the whole thing. Same thing as here as well. I always made sure to get every SA unit. I even was a big voice at the start when there was controversy with CR gutting the interact mode. Of course, I remember that. That was such a disaster. And tried to work out things with the mods CR had for the game back then. Wow, okay, this guy's OG. I remember because we actually had if I recall correctly, there was an official Danmachi server, DANMEMO'S server, with CR teams and stuff, people from CR moderating and stuff, which was very surprising. I remember, like, it's been so long that I've completely forgotten it existed actually. But I remember being a part of it as well. I personally didn't create as much of a ruckus as some people did, but basically what they did was if you tapped on what the character, they would react, right? That was removed from the global version of the game, unfortunately. So yeah, it was kind of weird in that regards. I have mixed feelings too, as while there were great times, it's honestly somewhat surprising it lasted this long. There was almost never any talk about it, and there was never any discussion even when the new units launched. The game just existed. I think, again, like I said, what doesn't help is you don't have a very solid community for this game. The solid community we had with Technia unfortunately went away when he stopped creating content, and then everybody became their own mini community basically with, you know, their familiars and stuff, right? So there's no real access for players to jump in and, you know, go from there, right? But yeah, it just makes a bit of an issue there. And then the slowing of events while also introducing characters with skills. I mean, they never slowed the events. I disagree with that statement. Events were always a month and a half long or so. So I disagree with this. The events were always paced up. But yeah, the skills got more and more complex over time, which that's every gacha game. You look at Fire Emblem Heroes, you look at Dokkan, and compare the first year units versus the most recent units. They're completely different and they're more in-depth, more complex. This is not, I disagree with that statement of it being an issue if it is an issue, because I disagree. That's just a thing that happens in every gacha game. No new stories announcement around the same time of the new 3D game was the nail in the final nail. Really, I agree. And relating to the 3D game, it's an absolute shame this died for it. Again, I don't think it died for it. I think it's dying for the next gacha game. It's not dying for this gacha game, because if it was dying for this gacha game, it would have died a year ago, to be quite honest. I disagree with that statement, but yes. But yeah, a lot of people have this issue with this. More than the 3D game, new game, I do think it's dying because Gree, which was a planner for DANMEMO and past Danmachi's games, and the owner of WFS, is taking out the resources for the new game they are developing in conjunction with NeoWiz. I agree with that. This guy's got his head on. Slow transition. Big shout outs to him. Hope Danmachi Battle Chronicle gets EOS. It's almost down to the same revenue level as, at which they announced maintenance mode for DANMEMO after just 4 months. Yes and no. I know a lot of people will look at this chart that I have here, and I assume that's what they're referencing as well, and of course all the Gacha Gaming revenue websites that they use, right? But you have to remember, these websites only calculate the mobile revenue. They do not, and I repeat, they do not calculate the actual revenue from not only just mobile but PC as well. And you have to remember, there are a lot of players playing on PC as well. So I don't think you are exactly judging it really well here, purely because Danmachi Battle Chronicles revenue is not just mobile, it's PC as well. So I disagree with that. It's not the same. Yes, on mobile it's down to the same level of revenue level, but not everybody's playing on PC, or not everybody's playing on mobile. And especially now that we know on the PC client of Danmachi Battle Chronicle, if you download the JP client, you can basically take advantage of the currency exchange rate and basically buy the packs and stuff for much cheaper, basically half the price. So yeah, sad to see my very first gacha EOS. Yeah, that's a crazy one. I think I mean, it's definitely not the first one that I've had to deal with when it comes to an EOS, because Dragalia lost and stuff, right? But yeah, the stories were especially from one of the best games during its time, Momo Heartkyun says. The stories, especially the anniversary ones, were some of the best stories and can rival FGO's. Game was insanely free-to-play friendly to her. You played like 1 or 2 hours per week. The games aren't like this anymore. Rip DANMEMO. Just by being above average, it definitely doesn't beat FGO's story quality. It's perspective, I feel. I think FGO's definitely had its weak stories. obviously it's had its amazing stories. You know, you have Olympus and stuff, right? Lost Bell 5 and stuff. But Danmemo has really good stories as well. I think, you know, on average, I'd say it's personally about the same, to be quite honest, when it comes to average stories. I think there's a lot of FGO stories recently, especially, I feel, that have been a little bit weaker. Even though I don't play the game as much anymore, I still read the stories whenever I can get the opportunity to. And I feel like it's not been the best, but at the same time, Danmemo has also not been amazing all the time. You know, they've definitely had some dips, ups and downs, you know, as well. But yeah, let's see here. Okay, so Loco Loa goes on to say here, and I'm gonna read the big paragraphs from here on out because everything is about the same. Nice, another online game shutting down. Ooh, wow, very, very impressive there. Anyways, game has been in maintenance mode, so this is not a surprise. I played it for 6 months, and the only interesting stuff was story content that was canon from the writer during anniversaries. Everything else was anime recap with some LN stuff sprinkled in. No and yes, because of course the Bell story was anime story recaps, but Sword Oratorio was not an anime recap. It was completely all Ellen stuff, and while this person may not like that, I think it was very impressive because not everybody reads the light novels, so allowing people to have the opportunity to get a chance to read the light novels, I think is fantastic. And then non-canon, nonsensical filler fluff. I mean, you don't expect a game to just do canon content consistently. That's not how it works, unfortunately. I think not all of it was nonsensical. I think some of it was really good. I still maintain one of the best stories in this game that was not an anniversary stories is a Winter Magic Miracle, which was fantastic. I dropped it around the time they had 2 anime recap events back to back. I don't know when this was, so I can't really say, but I assume it must have been when they dropped probably Sword Oratorio 10 and 11 maybe, or something like that, but I don't know. Danmachi has perfect setup for MMO style games, but instead we get mega games. Infinite Combat is probably, I don't think MMO would work for Danmachi. Personally, this is my personal take. Danmachi is more suited towards a Souls-like or a roguelike, in my opinion. I think going for a roguelike would be amazing. It would be super accessible for so many players. And Souls-like would be an insane challenge for so many people as well. I think it would be amazing, you know. Close the door when you leave. Very funny. I just want to see some of the negative comments. So disrespectful to fans. Zymo just convert the game into an offline RPG. At this point, it's starting to look like Gacha game released with planned DOS. But it is a Gacha game. I don't know. I feel like it's so odd for people to say stuff like that. Thank God it's dead. No longer suffer. Very cool. Let's see. Let's keep really reading. Let's fucking go. Very nice. I love these, man. It's still at the Crunchyroll bug on it. Thus, its downfall was to be expected. But to be fair, they went 4 years longer than the Crunchyroll bug. The Crunchyroll thing shut down, I think, around the 2nd anniversary or right before the 2nd anniversary. So can't say that at all, in all honesty. But yeah, this guy talks about successor to Danmeme was coming soon. Most of the stories are already on YouTube and whatnot as well. But yeah, I think it's all very, well and good. I think it's a lot of positive comments here, some obviously negative ones, but for the most part super positive as well. I'm really, really impressed with that. I'm really, really happy that the Gacha Gaming community has come together to basically, give their respects to, I would say, one of the all-time greats that was an underdog, in my opinion, and an under the radar goat, in all honesty. But yeah, let me know what you guys think as well from what everybody has said. I love the outpouring love for the game, and I hope maybe somebody from WFS, the production team or whatever, sees this video and sees everybody's reaction and appreciates it. I think it would be super amazing to get them to see this potentially in some way, shape or form. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.